Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Jefferson nickels, a coin series that many people overlook, but that can actually be extremely valuable. If you've ever held on to a nickel without realizing its true worth, this is the video you need to watch from beginning to end. Jefferson nickels have a rich history. They were minted for decades, and hidden among them are rare dates, special mint marks, and unique varieties that can sell for much more than 5 cents. That's why collectors and coin hunters are always searching through change and collections for the valuable Jefferson nickels that stand out. By staying tuned all the way through this video, you're going to learn what makes Jefferson nickels so collectible, which years and mint marks to watch for, and why these coins continue to increase in demand among collectors. So don't click away, because the Jefferson nickels in your pocket could be worth far more than you think. Let's get started. First up, the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is a coin that often goes unnoticed, but it is actually one of the fascinating pieces of American coinage that collectors always pay attention to. This nickel was minted in Denver in 1962, and while millions were produced, the real value comes in knowing the details, the history, and the hidden factors that can make a single 1962 D Jefferson nickel worth far more than its 5-cent face value. When you hear Jefferson nickel, you are thinking of a coin that has been in circulation since 1938, created to honor President Thomas Jefferson, and the 1962 D issue continues that legacy. The D mint mark, placed on the reverse of the coin to the right of Monticello, indicates that it came from the Denver Mint, which produced hundreds of millions of coins, but collectors know that within these large mintages, quality and condition play a major role in determining true value. Many Jefferson nickels, especially from the early 1960s, suffered from weak strikes, bag marks, and other flaws, which means that high-grade examples of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel are much harder to find today. That scarcity in gem condition is one reason this coin has become valuable and desirable among coin enthusiasts. Collectors also appreciate the 1962 D Jefferson nickel for its place in the history of U.S. coinage. This was a time before the major design changes that would come in later years, and it is part of the classic nickel series, featuring Felix Schlag's design of Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. Holding a 1962 D nickel is like holding a piece of early 1960s America in your hand, and collectors treasure that connection to history. The coin itself may look like an ordinary nickel to someone unfamiliar with coin collecting, but those who know the details understand that some of these coins can command impressive values, especially in mint state condition, with sharp detail and full steps on Monticello. The full steps designation is something that coin collectors specifically look for on Jefferson nickels. A 1962 D nickel showing strong, complete steps on Monticello is very scarce, and those examples are considered highly valuable. This is why you should always check your Jefferson nickels closely, because the difference between an ordinary circulated coin and a high-quality example can mean the difference between just 5 cents and a valuable collectible. The demand for Jefferson nickels has only increased over the years as collectors build complete sets, and the 1962 D is an essential part of those sets. Many people underestimate how tough it is to find well-preserved coins from this era. The Denver Mint produced a lot of coins, but the quality of striking was inconsistent, and coins quickly entered circulation, where they picked up wear and marks. That means today, most of the 1962 D nickels you see are well worn and only worth face value, but the few that survived in pristine condition are valuable and desirable. Collectors are constantly searching rolls of nickels, coin shows, and online auctions to find those higher-grade examples. This is what makes the 1962 D Jefferson nickel so interesting. It is a coin that looks ordinary but carries hidden potential, and if you happen to find one in great condition, it could be worth far more than most people would ever expect. It is also worth noting that the composition of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel is the standard copper-nickel alloy that the series has used since its inception, except for the wartime years of 1942 to 1945, when silver was included. Even though it does not contain silver, the 1962 D nickel still holds value for collectors because of rarity in top condition and the demand among those completing Jefferson nickel sets. Every coin has a story, and the story of the 1962 D nickel is about how ordinary change can hold hidden treasures. Imagine finding a nickel from 1962 with a clear Denver mint mark, sharp detail, and bright luster. It could be a piece worth holding on to for the long term. The market for these coins has remained steady, and collectors know that coins with high appeal, minimal marks, and strong details will always bring premium prices. That is why this nickel is valuable and why it deserves attention. Another reason the 1962 D Jefferson nickel stands out is because collectors of Jefferson nickels often chase after varieties and errors, and some of these can make a coin even more valuable. While the regular strike is the most common, error coins like double dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mint marks from this year can sometimes be discovered, and when they are, their value goes up significantly. These rare varieties are always being sought by specialists, and if you happen to come across one, it could turn a simple nickel into a highly valuable collectible. This is why the 1962 D Jefferson nickel is more than just an average 5-cent coin. It carries both history and potential, and that is why it continues to interest so many collectors today. When we talk about the value of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel, we are really talking about a range, depending on condition and rarity. A heavily circulated example may only be worth its face value of 5 cents, but a coin in uncirculated condition with great eye appeal can be worth several dollars, and in rare cases with full steps and high grades, the value can climb much higher. That is why collectors recommend carefully examining any 1962 D Jefferson nickels you come across. Condition, mint mark clarity, and strike quality are the keys to determining whether your coin is just another nickel or a valuable piece of numismatic history. Remember, millions were made, but very few survive in the condition that collectors truly want, which is why this coin is valuable and why it should not be ignored. The Jefferson nickel series is often where many new collectors start because these coins are still affordable and easy to find in circulation, but they also have hidden gems like the 1962 D that keep even experienced collectors excited. If you think about it, this coin has been around for more than 60 years, passing through countless hands, carrying history from the early 1960s to today. That age, combined with rarity and top condition, creates value, and that's exactly what makes this coin worth talking about. The 1962 D Jefferson nickel is not just a simple coin. It is a collectible with real potential, and if you pay attention to details, you could find one that is valuable. So, when you hear people talking about valuable Jefferson nickels, remember that the 1962 D deserves a place on that list. It may not be the rarest coin ever struck, but in high grade it is valuable, it is collectible, and it is a coin worth holding. That's why collectors are always on the lookout for it, and why you should keep your eyes open too. Every Jefferson nickel has a story, but the 1962 D with the Denver mint mark has a special place in coin collecting, and it continues to attract attention for good reason. This is a coin that can surprise you with its value, and that's why people love collecting Jefferson nickels. They remind us that even the coins we use every day can turn out to be hidden treasures. Next up, the 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark is a coin that every collector and coin enthusiast should pay close attention to, because even though it looks like an ordinary 5-cent coin, it actually holds hidden value and importance in the world of U.S. coin collecting. The P mint mark tells us that this nickel was minted in Philadelphia in 1992, and while millions of them were produced, the real story is that certain examples of the 1992 P Jefferson nickel are highly collectible and can be worth far more than face value. This coin belongs to the long-running Jefferson nickel series that began in 1938 and has been one of the most collected American coin series of all time. For over 8 decades, collectors have searched through change and rolls of nickels to find valuable dates, mint marks, and conditions, and the 1992 P issue remains one that people still look for because of the demand in high grades and the importance of completing Jefferson nickel collections. If you have this coin sitting in your change jar or tucked away in a collection, it may surprise you to learn just how valuable it can be under the right circumstances. When looking at the 1992 P Jefferson nickel, the obverse shows the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, and the reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's home. On the right side of Monticello, you can see the P mint mark, which is what identifies this coin as having been struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions of these coins were minted, but collectors know that high-quality examples are much scarcer than they seem. Many nickels struck in the early 1990s came with weak strikes, contact marks, and circulation wear, which makes pristine examples far more difficult to find today. This scarcity in top condition is exactly what gives the 1992 P. Jefferson nickel its collectible value. A circulated coin may only be worth its face value of 5 cents, but an uncirculated, high-grade coin with sharp details and clean surfaces can bring in much higher prices on the collector market. That's why it's so important to examine your Jefferson nickels carefully, because a 1992 P in excellent condition is worth far more than people realize. Collectors of Jefferson nickels also pay special attention to what are known as full steps. Full steps refer to the steps at the base of Monticello on the reverse of the coin. Most nickels from this era have weakly struck or incomplete steps, but finding one with full, well-defined steps is very rare. A 1992 P. Jefferson nickel with full steps can be extremely valuable because collectors compete fiercely for these higher quality coins. The difference between an ordinary nickel and a valuable collectible often comes down to strike quality, and full steps examples are some of the most sought after. If you are searching through change, rolls of nickels, or coin collections, always check the steps on Monticello. A full steps 1992 P. Jefferson nickel can sell for a premium and is considered a key find for modern nickel collectors. The value of the 1992 P. Jefferson nickel also depends on overall condition, luster, and eye appeal. Coins that have been preserved in mint state condition with no scratches, no discoloration, and bright original surfaces are always worth more than worn examples. Collectors know that even though millions of coins were made, very few have survived in pristine condition, and that makes them valuable. Over 30 years have passed since 1992, and in that time, most of these nickels have circulated heavily. That means the surviving examples in top grade are truly collectible. A coin with sharp detail, bright luster, and full steps is far more desirable than an average worn nickel. This is why the 1992 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why coin collectors always look for it when building complete nickel sets. Another important factor for the 1992 P. nickel is the possibility of errors and varieties. Coins struck with die errors, off-center strikes, or double designs are always popular with collectors. While not every 1992 P has these features, some have been found, and when they are, their value increases significantly. Repunched mint marks and die cracks can also add interest and collectible value. Error coins are highly sought after because they are rare and unique, and if you happen to find a 1992 P. Jefferson nickel with an error, it could be worth far more than an ordinary nickel. This is another reason why people should never overlook Jefferson nickels from the 1990s. They may seem common, but hidden among them are rare varieties that collectors are always willing to pay more for. The Jefferson nickel series is often considered an entry point for new collectors, but coins like the 1992 P show why even modern nickels can be valuable. Completing a Jefferson nickel set requires coins from every year and every mint mark, and the 1992 P is part of that journey. Collectors who want complete albums will need this coin, and the higher the quality, the more valuable it becomes. This constant demand is what keeps coins like the 1992 P nickel relevant and collectible. A coin minted in Philadelphia more than 3 decades ago continues to hold value today because collectors know that quality examples are scarce and that completing a set is impossible without it. Even though the 1992 P. Jefferson nickel is made of the standard copper-nickel composition and does not contain silver or gold, it is still valuable because of rarity and high grade, demand among collectors, and the search for full steps examples. This is an important reminder that a coin does not need precious metal to be valuable. Collectability, condition, and demand are what drive the value of coins like this. Every Jefferson nickel tells part of the story of American coinage, and the 1992 P is a perfect example of how even modern coins can surprise collectors with hidden worth. So, When you come across a 1992 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark, don't dismiss it as just another piece of change. Check the details, look at the steps on Monticello, and pay attention to the condition. If your coin has sharp details, bright luster, and full steps, it could be worth much more than 5 cents. Collectors and dealers are always on the lookout for these coins, and the market continues to reward high-quality examples. That is why the 1992 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why it deserves attention from anyone interested in coin collecting. Holding on to coins like this is not just about saving change. It's about preserving a piece of history and recognizing the hidden treasures that others might overlook. The 1992 P. Jefferson nickel proves that even ordinary coins can turn into valuable collectibles when you know what to look for, and that's why collectors continue to search for them. Whether you are new to coin collecting or an experienced numismatist, this is a coin that belongs in your collection, and one that could add surprising value to what might look like just an ordinary nickel. Next up, the 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is one of those coins that at first glance may look like an ordinary 5-cent piece. But for collectors and coin enthusiasts, it holds real potential and surprising value. Struck at the Denver Mint in 1963, this coin carries the small D mint mark on the reverse to the right of Monticello. And while the mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels that year, not all 1963 D Jefferson nickels are equal. Collectors know that the details, the condition, the strike, and the overall eye appeal are what determine whether a coin like this is simply a common nickel or a highly valuable collectible. That is why the 1963 D Jefferson nickel is worth examining closely, because coins from this issue can be worth far more than their face value when preserved in exceptional condition. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938 and has remained a central part of American coinage ever since, honoring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with his iconic portrait and featuring Monticello on the reverse. Designed by Felix Schlag, this coin design became one of the most familiar images in U.S. currency, and by the early 1960s, the series was firmly established as a favorite among coin collectors. The 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is part of that history, minted just before major changes in U.S. coinage that would occur in the mid-1960s. Collectors see this coin as a snapshot of early 1960s America, and because so many circulated heavily over the decades, finding examples in pristine condition has become challenging. This scarcity in higher grades is the key reason why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why collectors are always searching for the best examples they can find. Most 1963 D. Jefferson nickels that you will see in circulation today are well worn. They may have scratches, nicks, discoloration, or weak strikes that lower their value, but among them there are coins that survived in mint state with bright luster, sharp details, and very few marks. These are the coins that collectors will pay premiums for, because they are much harder to come by. A circulated 1963 D nickel may only be worth its face value of 5 cents, but a high-grade mint state coin can be worth many times that, especially when it shows strong strike quality. This is why it's so important to examine coins carefully, because the difference between a common nickel and a valuable one often comes down to the smallest details. One of the most important features collectors look for on Jefferson nickels is the step detail on Monticello. The full steps designation is given to coins that show sharp, uninterrupted steps on the building's base, and this is considered a hallmark of an excellent strike. The problem is that most 1963 D. Jefferson nickels were struck with dies that did not fully bring out this detail, leaving weak or incomplete steps. That means that a 1963 D. nickel with full steps is very rare, and when found in mint state, it becomes a highly valuable collectible. Full steps coins are especially desirable, and they often bring in significant premiums compared to ordinary strikes. For this reason, every collector who searches through Jefferson nickels keeps a close eye on the steps of Monticello, because a full steps 1963 D can be one of the most valuable coins from the early 1960s. It is also important to remember that era coins and varieties exist within the 1963 D issue. Repunched mint marks, die cracks, double dies, and off-center strikes are just some of the possibilities that make certain nickels even more valuable. Era coins are always unique and collectible, and they often sell for far more than standard examples. If you happen to come across a 1963 D. Jefferson nickel with one of these eras, you may have a coin that collectors are eager to add to their collections. This is why it is so important not to dismiss older nickels as ordinary pocket change. The history, the condition, and even minting mistakes can turn what seems like just another 5-cent coin into a hidden treasure. The 1963 D. Jefferson nickel also holds importance for set builders. Collectors who create complete Jefferson nickel albums must have every date and mint mark, and the 1963 D is an essential piece of that puzzle. Because so many coins from this year circulated and were damaged, collectors seeking higher grade examples often struggle to find them. That constant demand ensures that nice examples of the 1963 D nickel will remain valuable. Even though the coin itself contains no silver and is made from the standard copper-nickel composition, its worth is driven by rarity in top condition and demand from collectors, not just its metal content. This is a perfect example of how numismatic value can exceed face value and intrinsic value, making the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel a collectible coin worth paying attention to. When you hold a 1963 D. Jefferson nickel, you are holding a coin that has been circulating for more than 60 years. Think of all the history it has passed through, all the people it may have exchanged hands with, and how few have survived in pristine, untouched condition. That age combined with rarity and high grades creates the foundation for collectible value. Collectors today recognize that, and that is why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel remains popular and valuable. Many people who overlook Jefferson nickels and their change may never realize they are holding something collectible, but those who know the details can spot the valuable coins hiding in plain sight. The market for Jefferson nickels continues to grow, and coins like the 1963 D with the Denver mint mark are part of what keeps collectors engaged. Searchers go through bank rolls, estate sales, and coin shops hoping to find examples that stand out. The thrill of discovering a well-struck, high-grade 1963 D nickel with full steps is something that keeps collectors excited, and that excitement translates into value. This is why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is more than just an old nickel. It is a valuable piece of numismatic history that continues to attract attention decades after it was minted. So if you come across a 1963 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark, take the time to look closely at it. Check the condition, examine the luster, study the steps on Monticello, and look for any unusual features or errors. The difference between an ordinary nickel and a valuable collectible is often in those small details. A coin that seems common could actually be worth much more than its face value, and that is exactly why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is considered valuable. Next up, the 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark is one of those coins that people often overlook because it seems modern and common. But the truth is this nickel is a very important part of the Jefferson nickel series and can actually be quite valuable in the right condition. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1989, this coin carries the small P mint mark placed to the right of Monticello on the reverse. Millions of them were produced, but not every coin has survived in the same condition, and that is where the value comes in. Collectors know that the difference between an ordinary 5-cent piece and a valuable collectible Jefferson nickel comes down to details like the sharpness of the strike, the luster, the presence of full steps on Monticello, and the overall grade of the coin. This is why the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why collectors are always on the lookout for higher quality examples that stand out from the rest. The Jefferson nickel series began back in 1938, and the design by Felix Schlag became one of the longest running in U.S. history. By the late 1980s, the Jefferson nickel was already a well-established part of American coinage, familiar to everyone who used pocket change. On the obverse is the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, and on the reverse is his home, Monticello. What makes the 1989 P nickel interesting is not just its design, but its place in modern coin collecting. Coins from this period may seem too recent to be valuable, but collectors know that quality, rarity in high grades, and special varieties can make them worth far more than face value. The 1989 P is a perfect example of this, because while most circulated examples are only worth 5 cents, mint state coins with sharp detail and eye appeal can be worth many times more, making this nickel valuable in ways that most people would never expect. One of the biggest factors in determining the value of the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is condition. Coins that have circulated heavily are common and usually not worth much more than face value. However, uncirculated examples with bright luster, no wear, and minimal contact marks are much harder to find and are always more valuable. Collectors also look for coins that have what are known as full steps on Monticello. Full steps refer to the lines at the base of the building on the reverse of the coin. Most Jefferson nickels from this period were struck weakly, and the steps did not fully appear. A coin with complete, uninterrupted full steps is very rare, and this makes it extremely valuable. A 1989 P. Jefferson nickel with full steps in mint state condition can sell for significant premiums, and collectors are always competing for these scarce examples. That is why you should always check the reverse of your 1989 P. nickels closely, because one small detail, like full steps, can transform an ordinary coin into a valuable collectible. Another factor that adds value to the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is the presence of errors and varieties. Minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks are all possibilities in this issue, and coins with these features are far more desirable to collectors. A normal 1989 P. nickel may not seem extraordinary, but if it has an error or a rare variety, it can become a sought-after piece that sells for far more than face value. Error coins are always popular in the collecting community because they are unique and rare, and when combined with a modern issue like this, they create strong demand. That is another reason why the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why it continues to be searched for by collectors who want to find something special hidden in ordinary change. Collectors who build complete Jefferson nickel sets also need the 1989 P for their albums, and this adds to the demand. Completing a collection requires every date and mint mark, and coins like the 1989 P play an important role. While it may not be considered a key date in terms of rarity, the challenge comes in finding high-grade, well-struck examples. Because so many coins were released into circulation and used daily, surviving mint state coins are scarcer than most people realize. That scarcity in pristine condition drives up the value, and this is why the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel remains important for collectors today. A coin minted in Philadelphia more than 3 decades ago is still relevant in the market because collectors understand its potential, and that is what makes this coin valuable. Even though the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel does not contain silver or precious metals, it still carries numismatic value. Its worth is not based on metal content, but on collector demand, rarity and top condition, and the historical role it plays in the Jefferson series. Every coin tells a story, and the story of the 1989 P is about how even relatively recent issues can become collectible and valuable when preserved in the right way. This is an important reminder that coins don't need to be old or made of silver to have value. Sometimes, modern nickels can surprise collectors with just how much they are worth, especially in uncirculated grades with full steps or in rare error varieties. The 1989 P. Jefferson nickel has now been in circulation for over 30 years, which means most examples you find will show significant wear. This makes the surviving uncirculated coins stand out even more, and that is why they are valuable. Collectors always look for coins that combine rarity and quality, and when they find them, they are willing to pay more. That is why it's so important to look closely at every 1989 P. nickel you come across, because you may discover one that is worth holding on to. Whether it's a full steps example, an error coin, or simply a sharp uncirculated piece with great eye appeal, these coins have real potential. The Jefferson nickel series has been a favorite among collectors for decades, and coins like the 1989 P keep that interest alive. This coin is part of the story of American money, and even though it looks like just another nickel, it is far more than that when studied carefully. Collectors know its value, Dealers recognize its demand, and those who take the time to look closely can find a hidden treasure in a coin that others ignore. That is why the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable and why it continues to hold a place in modern numismatics. So, if you come across a 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, don't just toss it back into circulation. Take the time to examine it, because you could be holding a coin that is worth more than you think. This nickel is a reminder that value can be found in any pocket of change, and that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins are the ones that carry the greatest surprises. The 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is valuable, it is collectible, and it is a coin that deserves attention from anyone interested in coins and the history they represent. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about coins that are rare and valuable, make sure to check out my previous video on the Washington quarter dollar. That coin has an incredible history and can also be worth much more than face value, so you don't want to miss it. Every video on this channel is made to help you discover which coins are truly valuable and worth collecting. So after watching this one, go see my Washington quarter dollar video for even more details on coins that can bring surprising value. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, because I upload videos regularly about nickels, pennies, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and other collectible coins that are worth money. Stay connected. Watch my Washington quarter dollar video next, and subscribe so you never miss out on the most valuable coins in circulation.